the people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show. Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, around the world on the Internet with our new Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me today, as she usually does on Thursdays, is Sharon Angle. Sharon, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks, Rick. As always, it's great to be with you, broadcasting from downtown Philadelphia. I always have to think about why we're there, and the reason is, of course, that downtown Philly is one of those places that we consider to be a place that we need to reach, because they didn't even have one vote for Mitt Romney.
Well, they didn't.
They're not getting all the facts, are they?
No, they're not. And the story is in 59 voting districts in Philadelphia. I don't know how many voting districts there are in Philly, but in 59 voting districts in Philadelphia, that encompassed 19,000 votes. 19,000 votes. In the 2012 presidential election, Mitt Romney did not get a single vote. Not a single vote. That means no one made a mistake, no hanging chads, no smudged marks, no nothing. Mitt Romney didn't get a single vote. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it, Sharon Angle?
It's hard to believe, but it's the reason that we're there.
Absolutely.
Conservative Commandos radio show says this is too hard to believe. We need to be in there. We need to be talking to these folks. So that's what you and I are doing today. We're talking to downtown Philly, and of course, across the internet, everyone else gets to hear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to reach out to people like your granddaughter, Tia. It's Tia, right?
That's right. She lives there in downtown Philly.
Yes, reach out to young people like Tia to kind of show them or let them know what kind of a world they're inheriting from us.
And you know, one of the things that was interesting last week, one of our guests noted, and I have paid attention to this as well, because Tia told me that they don't go to movies, they don't really listen to sitcoms, they don't have favorite television shows, but what they do like is documentaries.
Interesting.
And our guest said, yes, that's true. This millennial generation really likes to watch documentaries. And Rick Trader, we went to see one of those documentaries night before last here in Reno. We went to see Dinesh D'Souza's America.
Wow.
Have you seen it?
Actually, we had the producer of 2016 of America on the other day, Gerald Molen, Academy Award-winning producer-director of such movies as Schindler's List. He also produced and co-directed Dinesh D'Souza's last movie, 2016, Obama's America. So he was a guest on the Conservative Commandos radio show just the other day. And in time to come, we are planning to have Dinesh D'Souza and also John Sullivan, who wrote and directed both both 2016 Obama's America and Dinesh D'Souza's new movie, America.
Well, when we were at CPAC on Radio Row, we had the pleasure of meeting Dinesh D'Souza and just finding out what a terrifically good guy Dinesh D'Souza is. And, of course, this documentary, America, has really spotlighted why America is the nation that we are, and that we're still the good guys, even in spite of the liberal agenda to paint us as the villains in history.
Sharon, don't you find it interesting that a first-generation immigrant like Dinesh D'Souza has to re-educate Americans on the value of our country and what our country means to the world?
It's interesting but not surprising, and it's the frog in the pot. Remember that frog in the pot he would jump out if the boiling water was boiling. But if they turn the water up slowly, on the frog he cooks to death. What has happened is these first-generation immigrants come to this country from that boiling pot. They've jumped out, and they jump into America where freedom is still here. We still do have it, and they recognize how valuable it is, and then they are appalled at the way that we as Americans just take it for granted and won't even fight for the freedoms that we still have left. And that's what spurs them on to say, wake up, America. You have something very good and very unique here, and you're not appreciating it. In fact, you value it so little you won't fight for it. And so they are the ones fighting for it because they know what it's like to live in any other country in the world. And that really is any other country. As that documentary pointed out, we have exported our form of freedom back to Europe, that those countries that are democracies have become that way because of the American experience.
Sharon, what did you think of the effect that they used in the movie of letting people like Bill Ayers and Ward Churchill talk and give their side of America?
Well, I think it was very good that Dinesh did that because he showed you both sides of the coin. He showed you what's going on, where their liberal agenda is coming from, what they're saying, and then he went about telling you what the rest of the story is, that they only tell one side, and it's often not even a very factual side of the story, which I did not realize the connections of Hillary Clinton to Saul Alinsky until I saw the movie America. And I think that needs to be brought out more prominently. We understand his connection to Barack Obama, that Barack Obama was a true disciple of Saul Alinsky's. But as Dinesh D'Souza points out in America, so was Hillary Clinton from a long time back. And she had begun implementing many of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals before Obama even came on the scene.
You know, it was also interesting in talking with Gerald Mullen about how Costco, the big box store, the discount store, removed Dinesh D'Souza's book, and how within a day, because of public opinion and the public speaking out, Costco was forced to put the book back on the shelf. And I also found it very interesting that during our conversation with Jerry Mullen, he even said he called his local Costco and talked to the manager and said, hey, you know, that put the book back. And it's good that people stood up, Sharon Engel, it's good that people stood up, showed their anger towards Costco. And what this shows, Sharon, is we conservatives do have economic power, and we can use that power to pressure businesses to do the right thing.
Well, it's not the first time either. We've seen it with Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
In the past, we've seen it with Duck Dynasty. Whenever the left goes too far in supporting their agenda, where it affects us in a real way, we seem to say, oh my goodness, this is not right. We can't allow this. And finally, we speak out. But what it says to me, Rick Trader, is we need to be speaking out every day, not just when we feel it as an injustice to ourselves, because when we're not constantly vigilant, that's when our freedoms are the most in peril.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And as you say, we got to do it all the time. We're standing guard over our country. We got to make sure that we have a country to preserve. Same thing with what's going on on our southern border, Sharon. We conservatives need to speak out. We need to speak out to our congressmen, our senators. We need to speak out to everybody who will listen and say, hey, we're not going to let you do this to America. We're not going to let you turn America into a third world country, Sharon Engel, because that is what is going on here.
And Rick Trader, I'm glad you brought that up because it's not just Marietta, California. We see Marietta standing up and saying, we don't want you to do this to our town. You didn't ask. You didn't tell us they were, you just brought them in, and now you expect us to pick up the slack and to somehow take care of this problem that you've caused by allowing such porous and open borders. And yet it's not just Marietta. In our own state here in Nevada, we found out that they're bringing in 140 into a small town here in Nevada, Yerington, Nevada, which happens to be the hometown of my grandchildren, and they're bringing them in here. It's interesting to me that they're just inserting them almost everywhere. And sometimes they're getting a little pushback, but often they're not. I haven't heard any pushback in my state about this, and I just heard about this yesterday. So it's interesting. I think we all need to be, as I said, constantly vigilant and be like this is a Marietta. Get out there and protest this and say, secure those borders. Secure the borders, and then we can talk about the injustices of the people that are already inside our borders and those ones that are seeking asylum from outside.
All right, Sharon Engel, great first segment. We're going to have to go to a break. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show, coming to you from the CCRS studios. That of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, is the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet. Now you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Don't forget to check out our websites, conservativecommandosradioshow.com and ccrshow.com. We'll be right back.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And a program note, at 5 p.m. this afternoon, when we end our live broadcast, if you would like to hear a repeat of yesterday's show, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. That's CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And you can hear repeat broadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us, VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Sharon, I just got this interesting email from the Tea Party Express. Barack Obama's conservative cousin is running for U.S. Senate. Dr. Milton Wolfe is a Tea Party conservative running for the U.S. Senate against 47-year insider Pat Roberts. And as I mentioned, Dr. Milton Wolfe is Barack Obama's cousin. Very interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? But we all have families like that. I'm sure you do too, Rick Trader, where some people in your family you just can't talk to about politics, and in some cases because they are so politically disoriented from our way of thinking, they won't even talk to me. You know, they have decided that we can't even have a civil discourse on it, which sadly to say, that's what's happened in this country in a lot of ways. The liberal left refuses to even have the debate. They do not want to have a civil conversation. In fact, most often it's on the media. The left media, the shows that they put out are so vulgar and so insulting that it would be difficult to have a good conversation with any of them because they have no respect for anyone if they do not share their beliefs. So I think that's one of the tragedies that's happened within this country in the last 6 years since Barack Obama has taken office, is we see a real division among Americans.
Well, I think that division actually started in the 1990s during the Clinton administration. I remember back then how much vitriol there was. Remember that James Carville, the guy that looks like a serpent?
Yes.
You know, he's the one who orchestrated it much of the time during the Clinton administration. And, you know, Sharon, that's one of the reasons why we don't have liberals on this show. So, yeah, some people say, Rick, why don't you bring on liberals and beat them up and things like that? Well, what happens, Sharon, is it becomes a shout-over fest, okay? And nobody hears anything. It's hard to follow what's being said because everybody's talking over and shouting over each other. So you get a lot of time on Fox, you know? So that's one thing we try to avoid here on the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I find that to be true. I was watching Fox one evening when Bill O'Reilly actually had a liberal on and a conservative, and the conservative had their points when it came to the liberals' time. They gave the liberal their time. When he went back to get another opinion, the liberal just started shouting over, and not anything that had a point to be made or a factual clarification to be made. It was completely attacking the person and saying things like, you're wrong, you're radical, you're extreme, you don't know what you're, you know, and it was never about the facts. It was just that personal attack that came out of that a liberal's mouth, and truly, once they had the mic, they would not give it up. So you're exactly right.
It's almost like who can shout the loudest. You know, who can be the most ridiculous. So anyway, that's something we avoid here. Hey, Sharon, why don't we run down our list of guests? Not that we want to run them down, but let's go over them and let our audience know who we're going to be speaking with today.
Actually, I think they're going to build us up today, Rick Trader. We always have great guests on this show, but today we have three great guests. We're going to start out with Dr. Michael Cox, who's a consultant and recognized global economist and expert on financial trends. He's going to talk to us about what may seem to be an oxymoron for some, or maybe counterintuitive, but he's going to tell us why higher taxes on the rich will make us all poorer.
All right. And in the 4 o'clock half hour, I'm going to be speaking with our good friend Roger Aronoff. He is the editor of Accuracy in Media. He's worked in journalism, TV production, directing, writing, and earlier this year he was recognized the Citizens Commission on the Benghazi, or he organized, I should say, the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. And Roger's going to be joining us today to talk about a couple articles that he has written about what is going on down at the border. One is Evidence Mounts of a Manufactured Border Crisis, and the other article is MSNBC Analyst Caught in Major Distortion. So we're going to be speaking with Roger Aronoff today at 4:05.
And our final guest today is Christopher Doyle, who is a psychotherapist and the co-founder and president of Voice for the Voiceless. You know, Rick, we never shy away on Conservative Commandos radio show from those issues that seem to be politically incorrect, or which may get us all in a lot of trouble because we get called names. We don't shy away from talking to Project 21, for instance, because they're black, and we want to talk about the black issues. And we don't shy away because they might call us racist. Well, we're not shying away today either. Christopher Doyle, who, as I said, is a psychotherapist and co-founder and president of Voice for the Voiceless, is going to expose the 10 myths of gay activists and debunk those. You won't want to miss this because we know there is a militant action going on in this country, and we're all forbidden to talk about it if we don't want to be called homophobe. And I expected, Rick Trader, I expected after our show today that Conservative Commandos radio show may get branded as homophobe. So you won't want to miss Christopher Doyle talking about 10 myths of the gay activists and debunking those.
All right, so absolutely, we do have a great list of guests, the way we always do here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Sharon, we got about a minute and a half before we go to our next break. Is there anything on your radar screen or anything else on your radar screen you wanted to talk about?
Well, certainly, our listeners all know that I'm the president of the National Federation for Republican Assemblies. We just chartered a new unit in Alaska, and Alaska's Republican Assembly has endorsed Joe Miller for U.S. Senate. Joe Miller is a very interesting candidate, and I just wanted to take about a minute to share some of the things that Joe Miller is. Joe Miller is a pro-life, endorsed by the Alaska Right to Life person. He's endorsed by Gun Owners of America and the National Association for Gun Rights. He's a U.S. Army captain who received the Bronze Star in the Gulf War. He's also a Christian. And these qualifications set him apart from all the others in that race. As we go down the list of his opposition, both on the Democrat and the Republican side, we see that they don't qualify on just those character qualities that I just named, but they also don't qualify on the issues. They're very much pro-amnesty and pro-tax, and Joe Miller is against amnesty for aliens no matter. He's just
Hey, Sharon, we got to go to a break. Another thing about Joe Miller, he's a good family man. In fact, he has about 8 children, right?
Not about, exactly. He has 4 girls and 4 boys. And
all with the same lady. All with the same lady, his wife. Hey, Sharon, we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Be right back.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
That is Congressman Alan West. I'm Rick Trader, joined by Sharon Engel today here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show from WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and around the world on the internet. Sharon, we do have our first guest with us today, and will you please make the introduction?
I certainly will. It's my pleasure to introduce Michael Cox, who's a consultant, speaker, educator, and CEO of Dallas-based W. Michael Cox and Associates. Dr. Cox is an internationally recognized global economist and an expert on financial trends, a champion of capitalism at the best economic system, as the best economic system in the world. Dr. Michael Cox is the author of the Pulitzer Prize-nominated book, Myths of Rich and Poor, Why We're Better Off Than We Think. Dr. Cox is also the director of the Center for Global Markets and Freedom at Southern Methodist University's Cox School of Business. Welcome to Conservative Commanders Radio Show, Michael Cox.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Sharon.
Well, it's great to have you on. And I was reading your article, Higher Taxes on the Rich Will Make Us All Poor, Not End Inequality. Now, that sounds so counterintuitive to what we've been told, at least for the last 6 years and possibly for the last 30 years, that it's the rich that are the problem in this nation. And, of course, capitalism is a dirty word. So we're not ever going to be equal if we don't do something about those rich people. Tell us how that's not the truth, because basically that's what you're saying is it'll just make us all poor if we go after the rich folks.
Exactly. Well, look, let's think about the way most people who get rich do so. They don't inherit the money. That's what the data shows. They generally start a business. They start with almost nothing and work their way up by making repetitive good choices. You know, we make choices our entire life, whether we think about it or not. We choose when we're growing up who to play with, whether we play with bad kids or who run in gangs. Are they good kids? We make choices when we're in school of how much to study and what to study, what kind of grades we make, whether we go out and play it, when you get home or you go study. We make choices of how many years we stay in school. We make choices in school, when you go to college or not, and what subject do you study, whether it's journalism, which pays very low salaries, or become a petroleum engineer, which has a high $140,000 starting salary, or actuarial science, high salary. We make choices of, do we go to work after we graduate, or we sit on the couch and do nothing? We make choices of when we're at work, do we improve our skills and become more productive on the job, which will raise our pay? Do we save our money? How do we invest? Do we invent a new product and bring it to market? Are we honest? That tends to pay off over the long run. People find out you're not. We make all these choices, and repetitive, consistent, good choices tend to have good consequences and make you, quote-unquote, rich. Whereas, honestly, repetitive, bad ones tend to make you poor. And education, what we find out is the most critical choice people make in life is how much education they get and the field in which they go, but mainly the level of education. As a first approximation, education and experience are the reasons that the income distribution in America has widened. Some people are, highly educated. Others will drop out of high school if they even get that far. And it's really hard to be in the middle class today with a high school education alone.
Well, and you point out in your article that these rich folks, which now you're telling us are mostly entrepreneurs and self-made citizens. They're not inheriting this wealth. They're actually making this wealth, even though Obama said you did not make your own wealth, even though there's that mantra.
Right. I know what you're talking about, and he can say anything he wants. It doesn't make it true. Nor does the things that are in the recent book by Piketty, the nonsense he has in his book, just because he says it doesn't make it true, and all of his data is just falling apart when examined with any level of scrutiny at all. The way you get ahead in America, in any place, which is a free market country, is through merits, through your own merits, meritocracy. And that's why, in fact, if you look at people moving across America today, there's a great migration going on in America today from some states to others. And if you look at what states people are leaving and you look at what states they're going to, what you find out is that people are looking for the new world, a place that they can go with their family, and through making these good choices and sacrifice and through hard work and through starting a business, or just anything of their own merit, they can lift themselves up by their own bootstraps, increasing by. Go ahead.
I'm interested in what Piketty said too, because one of the quotes that he has was, or that you cited in your column, was that Piketty's taxes would reduce inequality by chopping off the top of the income distribution. It's a raw deal for the rich, of course, but the lower tiers of the income distribution will end up worse off as well. And to understand why, you talk about Piketty saying that the reason is not to tax the rich over 80%, is not to make the equality, make it equal, but to make the rich poor.
Right. Yeah, he has obviously a lot of envy, as do increasingly people in society, because the media makes you look at, does that to you, and politicians can farm you for your vote that way. Why would we want to make us more equal by destroying wealth? Why not make us more equal by increasing the wealth of the people who are in poverty? I mean, I spent a lot of time in the 1991 in the Soviet Union, when the place was just coming down. Berlin had already in 1989, the wall had come down, and the Soviet Union knew it was next. And so we went there to help finish the job. And I'll never forget my tour guide saying that, a few years ago, our government set out to make us all equal. Now we are. We're all equally poor. That's Piketty's solution. Hurt the rich, because I can't stand them. Well, how about a loving kind of solution? Help the poor. Help the people who are in the middle class. And if you wonder what the solution to that is, it's simple. It's very simple. Education. As I said earlier, the approximate cause of most of the income inequality in America today is education. Somebody who's 50 years old in America today, who say dropped out of high school or dropped in junior high, makes about $30,000 a year. Whereas in that same age group, a person who has a professional degree, a doctor, lawyer, dentist, and so on, makes a couple of $100,000 a year on average. Some make much more than that because they earn a specialty like surgery, which pays more than family medicine. So it's education. Now, so what we have to ask is, why is the majority of people in America today slipping out of the middle class? Well, the answer is obvious. It's because the majority of people in America today, about 70%, never get beyond high school. And in order for us to have, therefore, a fully filled out middle class, it has to be that a high school degree is worth something. That by the time you leave high school, you have substantial intellectual capital with which you can pull down a good job and perform, important and useful functions. Well, so to me, look, we proved this in my most recent report. I have a report I welcome people to get on the internet and look for, and it's called Reviving America's Middle. Let me get the exact name. America's Middle Class. Rebuilding America's Middle Class. Progress requires capitalism in the classroom. So the solution to America's inequality is to get the government out of education. Over the last 40 years, we spend 2.5 much as money today on educating a person in a public school system, 2.5 times as much in real inflation-adjusted dollars as we did in 1970. But scores in math are flat, science down, reading flat to down. There's been no improvement despite all that spending because it's spent inside the public system where there's no competition and so on. The money for schooling probably does have to come through government, from the wealthy people to everybody who needs it. But government doesn't have to actually teach us. There can be competition between schools, just like there's competition in the making of a cell phone, which has made that thing so much better and cheaper over that same time period. If we have
we're talking with Dr. Michael Cox here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Dr. Cox, can you stay with us through a break? We need to take a short break now.
I can. I teach today for 4.5 hours starting at 3, but I'll be okay.
All right. We'll be right back after this short break for a rebroadcast of this show. You can go to our flagship station to...
I'll pick I'll pick it up, Sharon, for a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening. Log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. You can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at vigilantlibertyradio.us. Our guest this segment is Dr. W. Michael Cox, and we're talking about higher taxes on the rich will make us all poor. Please don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back with Dr. Cox.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader coming to you from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and also around the world on the internet. Our guest this segment is Dr. W. Michael Cox. Dr. Cox is also the director of the Center for Global Markets and Freedom at Southern Methodist University's Cox School of Business. Dr. Cox, thanks for holding through the break. We do value your time.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Dr. Cox, sitting here listening to your conversation with Sharon and reading your article, and it's a great article, by the way, on Investors Business Daily. Higher taxes on rich will make us all poorer, not an inequality. Dr. Cox, as I'm sitting here listening to you and Sharon speak, and also reading your article, and your article has some terrific examples of people that started with nothing, made themselves rich, but in doing so are also enriching others. And we'll go into that in a minute. Reminds me of an expression that I've heard for quite some time now. I never got a job from a poor man.
Yeah, that's really good.
Dr. Cox, in your article, you talk about people such as Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla made donations last year of $992 million. And Bill and Melinda Gates, the Gates Foundation, the nation's largest, with assets of $40 billion. Dr. Cox, this kind of wealth is not made from a government giveaway program, is it?
You know what? Here's how you get rich. That's right. Here's how you get rich in America. I want everybody to think about this. If I want to get rich, what do I have to do? This is a voluntary economy. I'm not a king. I don't have any army. I don't have a big oil, I'm not the Saudi prince or something. I don't have some government-sanctioned oil well. If I'm going to get rich in America, starting with nothing, what I have to do is pay really good attention to other people's needs and wants, and see what you need, and see what everybody around you needs, what Sharon needs, and all my colleagues, everybody, as many people as possible. If I'm really good at figuring out something that everybody wants, would like to have, and then I go out there and I invent it and bring it to market at an affordable price, and you choose to buy it, it must be that if you choose to buy it, you feel better off with my product and without that amount of money, and I'm improving your life if you buy it. So and then I take your money, and part of that money becomes my profit from one person. So if you think about that, the people who are the richest in America's free market economy must be the ones who have pleased the most number of people, brought the thing with the most value to the most number of people in America. In other words, he or she profits most who serves best. The ones who serve society the best are the ones who profit the most and get the richest. And the bottom line, rich people in America are society's greatest heroes, not the politicians that we're led to believe, not anybody, but the rich person. If they got that money through honest means. I don't mean through plundering and stealing from others, because that's a very uncommon thing. The most common way people get rich is creating something of value. And when they create something of value, they enrich us all as well. That's the paradox of capitalism. It starts off with you pursue your own self-interest to make a better life for yourself and your family, but because everybody can reject your product, there's freedom. That word has come up a dozen times already in this program, and it's where I work at the Center for Global Markets and Freedom. Because of freedom, and they can reject our products, all that effort to make myself rich winds up having to create good. And that's the paradox of capitalism. It winds up starting with the self-interest, but it maximizes social welfare.
Dr. Cox, a couple other great examples in your article. One is John D. Rockefeller's money built Spelman College in Atlanta, Rockefeller University in New York, and the University of Chicago. And of course, John D. Rockefeller made his money in the gas and oil industry. Also, the National Gallery of Art was started with Andrew Mellon's collection. The Metropolitan Museum of Art with P.J. Morgan's. Rockefeller also paid to restore Colonial Williamsburg.
Right.
And these are great accomplishments, and these are men that are long gone, but their work is still rewarding all of us.
Well, in this article, we actually point out 6 things that the wealthy do for society. The rich, what are they worth? What do they do for us anyway? Number 1, they create the products that we put in our shopping carts. From Heinz ketchup to everything you buy that's got a brand name on it is somebody created a successful product that you love so much that you keep buying it time after time. So they bring us these products that we like. That's number 1. Number 2, they start the companies which offer us a job at which we work. So they create thousands and hundreds of thousands of jobs. Number 3, they save their money and invest it in new companies, and those new companies create more jobs, and so the money gets recycled back into the economy. When they stick it in a bank or whatever, it's not like it just sits there. It goes back into the economy, recycled to create other jobs through their investments. And the venture take, the risk that the capitalists take, the risk that they take starting up new businesses. Sometimes they fail, but when they start, we're all better off, including them. That's the 3rd thing. The 4th thing they do is give heavily to charity, and that's what you're mentioning now. The universities across America, Yale, Locke founded Yale University. I could go on and on about that, from Carnegie Mellon, Carnegie of the Steel, and so on. And then the 5th thing they do is that they contribute, I wouldn't say contribute, they're taxed heavily. They pay most of society's taxes. We are routinely told as American citizens that the rich don't pay their fair share of taxes. In 1980, the top 1% of American income earners paid 18% of all taxes. Today, they pay 40%.
Dr. Coxon, I wanted to talk with you about this idea that the rich mass pay their fair share. You point that out in your article. And Dr. Cox, before I swing you back over to Sharon Engel, I just wanted to mention that we have examples of what happens when you overtax the productive people. when you overtax the rich to the point where they have to move. You get examples like Camden, New Jersey, and Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, yeah. And you get examples like Dallas, Texas. We really appreciate Jerry Brown here in Dallas and Houston and all over Texas for sending us a bunch of new Californians, because he raised the income tax rate from 10.6% on incomes of $1 million or more to 13.3% on incomes of $250,000 or more. So he's scaring out doctors and people who are highly educated. $250 is about the average salary, or maybe even a little low for a doctor. So they're going. Businesses are leaving California. Toyota's leaving, and what's going on? Why are you leaving? Because you don't get it. You don't listen. You know, we're not an infinitely taxable resource. We can vote with our feet.
Well, and Mr. Cox, there's another area that we haven't really discussed yet, and that is philanthropy. Government seems to think that they can be the most charitable giver, but that's really not so. Who really does support the things that we need in this country, as far as those things that welfare really can't
government, first place, doesn't give $1. Government has no money that they don't first take from somebody else. You know, and now they like to present themselves as giving the money, and that's one of the most despicable, disgusting things that's happened in American society. I remember growing up. I came from Arkansas. My dad came from Mississippi, and this is, years and years ago. My dad was born in 1916, and we had a maid, a wonderful black lady. I love this woman. She was a beautiful black lady named Janora, and she was poor. Everybody was pretty much poor. We had a small little family farm, but she'd come up the hill and help us every day. And so we all kind of lived together in the house during the day. She was relatively poor, but we saw her, we loved her, we saw their family, we knew their kids and everything. And my dad, without even telling anybody, paid the money to put all those kids through college, all of our kids through college. And because of that, and because they saw that we did that, they knew we loved them, and we did. And so it was a really warm relationship between the rich and the poor back then. And there's a lot of the poor people making a lot of progress today. And then government stepped in between us, the rich and the poor, and they said, "Look, give me your money." Talking to the rich, "Give me your money here." And then they push the rich aside, and they say bad things about you, and they say, "Get back now, look." And then take the money and turn around and face the poor and say, "Look what I've got for you." That's disgusting, but that's what government is doing, and they're turning the rich against the poor. And why do they do that? Because it gets them votes. It gets the politicians votes. But when you take from one group for hard work, you discourage their hard work, and when you give to another group for not working, you discourage their work. And so this transfer system that we got is the main reason behind this America's slow growth today. And then when we've increased the transfer under President Obama, and it's just gotten worse. We're in a growth funk period right now, and it's because of all these bad government policies.
Well, Dr. Cox, we know that you have to go. You're on a time schedule, and we really appreciate you being here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Could you give us an idea how we can follow your articles and really learn more about capitalism and why it's good for our country and why it's good to be rich in our country?
Well, I have lots of things written on this subject. Fortunately, we have the most wonderful invention brought to us by Al Gore. The Internet. And all you got to do is put in there Michael Cox into a search engine brought to you by Sergey Brin and Larry Page. Again, Ordinary Citizens, and you will find on my name, W. Michael Cox, about 31.8 million hits.
Well, that's wonderful.
Well, we'll be sure to keep following you, Dr. Cox. It's very good and very interesting to have someone speak the other side of Saul Alinsky's playbook, which is to destroy the middle class. Yeah. You're actually trying to encourage the middle class to be better. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you. Invite me back. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. And, Sharon, one of the things, we had to let Dr. Cox go because he's off to teach a class. He has to teach a class in about 2 minutes. But one of the things in his article that I found interesting, and again, for these people that say the rich aren't paying their fair share, the Internal Revenue Service reports that the top 1% earn 15% of society's income, but pay 39% of all federal income taxes. The top 5%, with 27% of the income, pay 64% of income taxes. Sharon Engel, when is enough enough? Hey, Sharon, we're going to have to go to a break right now. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And we're coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, as we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and around the world on the internet. Please check out our websites, conservativecommandosradioshow.com and ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest, Roger Aronoff.
Crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And for a rebroadcast of today's show, tomorrow afternoon, log on to vigilantlibertyradio.us. And you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. And our guest now is Roger Aronoff. He's the editor of Accuracy in Media. He's worked as a journalist, TV producer, director, writer, and distributor. Earlier this year, he organized the Citizens Commission on Benghazi, and Roger has written, produced, and directed award-winning documentaries, including Fighting Words, a tale of how liberals created neoconservatism. Roger, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thank you, Rick and Sharon. Great to be with you again.
Roger, always great to be with you. Always great to have you as a guest. We really enjoy having you on. Roger, especially today, you have written a couple of really great articles about what's going on down at the border and also in the media. One was MSNBC's analyst caught in major distortion. And the other article that just came out today was Evidence Mounts on a Manufactured Border Crisis. Roger, you're right here. The situation at America's southern border is a manufactured crisis, one that was perpetuated, if not started, by the Obama administration. After all, the administration put out an ad in January asking for contractors to handle an influx of 65,000 children. What's going on, Roger?
Yeah, what a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Right.
And then Barack Obama has the nerve to come on TV just a couple of weeks ago and says, oh, it's all a surprise to him. Can't have it both ways, Roger.
Well, that's how he learns everything in the media. That's how he found out about the IRS scandal and God knows what else. But, yeah, so that's pretty much par for the course for him. But, yeah, what we have seen here, and then, as I point out, these news stories this week about how this company, this nonprofit organization, they're running ads to pay $6,000 a month to families who will take these children in as foster children, and then they were obviously involved in negotiations to spend $50 million to take a resort in Weslaco, Texas, complete with swimming pools, sauna, steam, tennis courts, racquetball courts, to house a number of these people, up to 650 at a time.
Roger, have you ever been to Club Med? Maybe I ought to go to Mexico and come across the border illegally. You know, it might be cheaper than going to Club Med. What do you think?
Right.
I mean, tennis courts, swimming pools, steam room, sauna for $50 million a year. And $6,000 per month. Roger, that just seems to be a whole lot of money for a foster parent. I don't know what real foster parents make. I don't know what this stipend is, but $6,000 a month to house and feed these children coming up from Central and South America. Wow.
Tax-free.
That's $72,000 a year, Roger.
Yeah, and with no taxes, that's more like $100,000+ a year. And you imagine the kind of people it's going to draw to, who say, you know, they want some of that money. You know, beats working, doesn't it? So.
Well, you know, Roger, I want to link the two articles that you've done this week. And, you know, the early article was about MSNBC analysts caught in major distortion. But in your article, your latest article that came out today, Evidence Mounts on a Manufactured Border Crisis, you're writing here that there were 230 immigrants interviewed, okay, about why they're coming to the United States. and 219 cited the primary reason for immigrating to the United States was the perception of U.S. immigration laws granting free passes. Now, your earlier article, earlier this week, and we're going to be talking about that, there was a guy on MSNBC who was stating that, it's because of all the violence going on in Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala. Again, Roger, you can't have it both ways. And if I was going to take the word of anybody, I would take the word of these immigrants that were interviewed as to why they came here. Wouldn't you?
You're exactly right. And yes, he was trying to make the point that, look, that the violence in Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador has so increased that that's what's driving this, all of a sudden, this huge wave of immigrants, illegal immigrants, to come here. And in fact, that wasn't it. It was basically the welcome sign that President Obama put out with his executive order or memorandum that he signed in 2012, basically saying that if you get here, well, you're going to have an extended period, at least 2 years. You know, if you come from a non-contiguous state, meaning not Mexico. So basically sent this out, and then when you send out this other document that you mentioned at the top of the show that says, you know, we're looking for escorts to bring 65,000 people here, word is get here now. While Obama, he couldn't Dream Act pass, so he just did it on his own. So it says get here, and you can probably stay here.
Well, Roger, right after the break, I want to play a little bit of that audio of that video clip, okay? But I wanted to talk about a couple other things that are in your article. And by the way, Roger, this is a terrific article. You know, when I get an article that we're going to talk about, usually what I do is I mark out the highlights in red. Well, Roger, I got to be telling you, I got your whole article marked out in red. Just an incredible article.
Thank you. People can see it at aim.org. So, right. Well, if you want to go there, please do. So, yeah, I'll be right here, Rick. Come on back after the break.
All right. Well, we're going to go to a break in about 2 minutes, but there were a couple other things that I wanted to get in, Roger, if you don't mind. Barack Obama and Janet Napolitano assured the American public as recently as 2013 that the border was secure. Quote, the amount of manpower, technology, everything else that we have to put on the border is simply amazing. And that was quoting Secretary Janet Napolitano. She told this to ABC News. It's not the same border. Roger, if all that has gone on, why is it like a sieve?
Well, what's happened now is 70% of the Border Patrol officers are being used to take care of the children and, you know, blankets and feeding them, and so the borders have become that much more porous now. But the other thing is most of these people are coming looking for the Border Patrol people, because that's when they know they're safely across and they're given their permiso. And so it's for them, it's not a matter of trying to avoid the Border Patrol people, it's trying to find them. But at the same time, as I point out, there was a New York Times piece that 240,000 adults have made it across the border during that same time. Many of them were caught, but many of those who were caught are just released to go find a family member and given, you know, a notice to come back to the court in 30 days or something. Just the idea that most of them are going to is absurd, and everyone knows it.
Mm-hmm. That was from the New York Times?
Yes. Okay,
also in your article, you quote the New York Times. They even argue that the besieged border is a myth, all right, and the arrival of a few thousand weary refugee children on buses does not make the myth true. This type of confusion and distortion should not continue for the good of the country. So, you know, the New York Times is saying that this is all a myth, Roger?
That's what they're saying, that this is not a real crisis, that we have lots of other things we should be worrying about and not trying to send these children back to the violent environments where they came from.
Well, let me tell you what's happening, Roger. Talk about violent environments. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was a young doctor, 26 years old, who was attacked and raped in her house by an immigrant from Honduras who was captured once, sent back, found his way back to the United States, to the streets of Philadelphia, into this doctor's house and raped her. Talk about violence, Roger. That's what's coming to our doorsteps.
It's true. I mean, there are many of these people who have been sent back, and they've come back a dozen times. I quote rather extensively in this article from this Hector Garza, who is the spokesman for the National Border Patrol Council, who says that our government is aiding and abetting these people coming in, and he talks about how low the morale is among the Border Patrol officers, how they come to work every day with their head held high, and they're very good at what they do, but with, you know, it's as if our own government is working against exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Hey, Roger, we got to take that break right now. Could you hold, my friend?
Sure.
All right. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and of course around the world on the internet. Don't forget you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Please don't go away. We're speaking with Roger Aronoff. He's the editor of Accuracy in Media, talking about how what's going on down on our southern borders is being manufactured by guess who? We'll be right back.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. Our guest this segment is Roger Aronoff. He's the editor of Accuracy in Media. Roger, thanks for holding through the break. We appreciate your time.
Sure.
Roger, back on July 11th, an edition of Morning Joe on MSNBC, former Obama administration car czar Steve Ratner was making a case for why America should be open to refugees. We're going to play a little bit of audio from this clip. Roger, could you set it up for us, please?
Yes. So Steve Ratner he was the former car czar for the Obama administration, and now he's a Morning Joe economic analyst. And way back, he was actually a New York Times reporter back in the 90s. And anyway, he was trying to make the point that the surge in the children at the border really was all about the violence in Honduras and had nothing to do with anything that the administration had done. Mm-hmm. He has this chart, this graph, in which he makes the point that he says there were 7,172 murders per every 100,000 people in Honduras in 2012.
All right, and with that, Roger, let's play the clip so our audience can hear it, and then we'll bring you back to talk about it, okay?
Okay.
All right, so this is a clip from Morning Joe on MSNBC. This clip was July 10th, and it's former Obama administrator Steve Ratner talking about why these children and these people are coming up from Central and South America. Brett, the board man, play that for us.
Steve, specifically what's going on in Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador that's driving this?
What's going on
this year?
What's going on, Joe, is a great segue to the next chart, which is a little bit of what you heard in the opening, which is violence. If you look at the statistics on the murder rate in these three countries, it's really quite remarkable. The red line here is Honduras, and you can see that they have gone from about 3,000 murders per 100,000 people to 7,000 murders per 100 people. Guatemala has had a similar increase, and El Salvador had an increase. It dropped in 2012. I don't know why. These are the most recent numbers we have.
Is this all driven by the drug trade?
It's driven by drug trade, human trafficking, just gang violence, all kinds of stuff. But let me put this in perspective for you. In the Honduras, you had a 1 in 14 chance of being murdered. In the city of New York, you have a 1 in 25,000 chance of being murdered. And so it must be, I can't even imagine what it must be like to be in a place like that.
Let's repeat that again. If you live in New York City, you've got a 1 in 25,000 chance of being murdered. If you live in Honduras, a 1 in 14 chance.
1 in 14
That's remarkable.
Chance. So this is, as we said earlier, it's a refugee crisis. And if you look at what's happening with our border security, it really isn't a function of a change in policy or a change in the number of border agents available. As you can see, we've increased the number of border agents very dramatically over the last 8 years, and it hasn't made a difference because we have this law, this 2008 law, which says that these children, if they're victims of sex trafficking or crimes or human trafficking or anything like that, they have a right to come to the country as refugees, have a hearing, and maybe eventually be deported. But it's not like whoever it was who said, well, we should just stop them at the border. You can't just stop them at the border. That's not what the law says.
All right, Brett, you can stop it there. And Roger Aronoff again. This is Steve Ratner talking to Joe Scarborough on the morning Joe. And Roger, he's talking about in Honduras has gone from approximately 3,000 murders per 100,000 people to about 7,000 murders per 100,000 people. But Roger, this guy, Steve Ratner, gets on TV and talks about this, but Roger, you figured out there's a little problem with this, didn't you?
Little problem. If that was accurate, it would have meant there had been, in a nation of 8.5 million people, there would have been over 600,000 of them murdered in that 1 year. and it was the real number is about 91, 92. It's very high, and but it hasn't been going up particularly, and in those areas it's staying about the same. But the whole point is he was so far off, he's so determined to make his point, and when somehow he became aware of it, I think someone had sent him an email or a Twitter, someone called Super Mexican is apparently who it is, and so he tweeted out on his Twitter account to his 14,000 followers, said, "Mea culpa, my chart on Central American murder was incorrect."
Yeah, but he didn't go back on MSNBC and say it, did he, Roger?
No, he didn't. And the other thing he did was he said, corrected version here, basic point remains. So he's saying that this doesn't really change the validity of his argument just because it went from, 7,000, what claiming to be 600,000 murders in a year to only being 7,000 murders in a year in Honduras. So he's saying, the basic point remains. And yes, so MSNBC should have done a correction on the air. He should be banished or at least suspended for being so sloppy and having this.
Hey, Roger, Roger, I want to bring Sharon Engel into this conversation too. Again, great articles, Roger. But Sharon, what gets me about all this? You know who they blame for all this? You know who this Rattenberg blamed on this, or this Ratner blamed on it? George Bush. Believe it or not, he blamed George Bush for all these immigrants coming over the border.
Well, and that also just brings the whole credibility of his letter statement into question for me. Roger, really, he says, well, it doesn't make any difference. The point is still the same. They're coming here for sanctuary because they're having to flee. Is that really true? Barack Obama said they'd be safer if they just stayed home. So what is the truth? Is that a true statement? Why are they coming?
Well, ironically, the weekend that this was happening, the weekend just before that in Chicago, there had been, this was the 4th of July weekend, it was the weekend before, and there were 82 people shot, 16 of them murdered in Chicago alone. But the truth, as Rick read from that report that came out earlier, that 220 or so out of 240 said, no, I'm coming there because I can get a permiso, not for the violence, that they weren't fleeing the violence. Look, I'm sure that there is violence, but it hasn't changed. That's not what changed. What changed is our policy here, the policy of the administration, the sort of welcome mat that they put out to say, if you get here, there's a great chance that you're probably not going to have to go back. So, of course, they want to come here, and then what happens? Well, they get put in this resort, or they get somebody with $6,000 a month to take care of them, and once they get here, of course, they need medical care, they need education, they need food. So it all goes on the American, taxpayer. Overwhelming the system for people.
So it's really, what you're saying, Roger, is it's just another ploy. Are they really telling these children, are they coaching these children to say, oh yeah, I'm afraid in my country, this is a sanctuary thing? Or are we really getting the truth out of these children? And if we're getting the truth, how can we keep letting them come across the border? What does our law say? They're telling us that the law says we have to accept them, but is that true?
Well, this 2008 law was specifically aimed at sex trafficking, and people who were in the being held as slaves and all that. And that's who it was meant to say, if they got here to our border, that they would then be given due process, which also means we supply them with a lawyer. But that was vastly loosened up with President Obama's memorandum of deferred action for childhood admissions in 2012 to say that, no, you can stay for at least 2 years while we're going to be going through this, giving you this due process and everything. And so...
Hey, Roger, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're up against a hard break. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Please give out your website where people can read your articles.
Yeah, it's aim.org, AIM.org for accuracy in media. And when you're there, sign up to receive our daily email. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And thank you, and Rick and Sharon, y'all are doing a great job.
Well, Roger, we always enjoy having you on. And, boy, I wish I had another half hour with you because there's so much more in your articles that I wanted to talk about, including the complicity of the Mexican government. How the Mexican government is giving these people 72-hour passes. It's incredible. Roger Aronoff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rick.
Take care. God bless. Gonna take a break. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back with our next guest.
They say I'm nasty, but What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show for a broadcast of yesterday's Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 5 p.m. this evening. Please go to www.ccrworldwidemedia.com and click onto a Listen Live link. You can also listen to a repeat broadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon by going to www.vigilantlibertyradio.us, and please click on that live link. Now you can listen to Conservative Commandos Radio Show at any time of the day by just calling 832-999-1199. Call using your cell phone at no extra cost. We are here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show with our co-host today, me, Sharon Engel, and Rick Trader. And we now have our guest who is coming on with us. He's ready to go, and he is a guest that we've kind of been looking forward to talking to because he's bringing in something that the politically correct would not like us to talk to him about. His name is Christopher Doyle. He is the co-founder and president of Voice of the Voiceless. He is an MA, an LCPC, a psychotherapist, an educator, and an author. He is the co-founder and the president, as I said, of Voice for the Voiceless. He's also the director of the International Healing Foundation, a nonprofit organization since 1990, and has helped thousands of individuals and families struggling with sexual orientation. As a licensed clinical professional counselor and spokesperson for sexual health, Christopher has been a guest on the Dr. Oz Show, National Public Radio, Fox News Radio, CBS, ABC, NBC, Christian Broadcasting Network, American Family Radio, and many more. His work has been featured in USA Today, Associated Press, NBC News, AOL, BuzzFeed, The Washington Post, The Washington Times, and many more. Christopher Doyle, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Christopher, I read all your credentials because we're going to be talking about a subject that needs a few credentials. We need some credibility to talk about this subject since we're all being bashed in the conservative world for being homophobes. First of all, would you tell us about Voice for the Voiceless?
Right, sure. Well, you know, I'm no stranger to being bashed as a homophobe, but I have one interesting qualification, the fact that I used to be same-sex attracted, and today I am not any longer, and I am married with 3 children. I'm married to a woman. You have to qualify that now these days. And I have 3 beautiful children, and I resolved the issues that were leading to my same-sex attraction. And once that happened, my heart's desire was to go into the counseling field to help others who were experiencing similar confusion and also didn't want to live a gay life. So so currently, you know, today my specialty is working with individuals and families who are struggling with sexual orientation. Most of my clients are younger men in their teens, 20s, and 30s who have unwanted same-sex attractions, and they have not bought into the myth that they were simply born gay, and we know that that is a myth. And so I've been working as a psychotherapist. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor in this area. But what really prompted me to start Voice of the Voiceless in January of 2013 was this idea of gay activists going after therapy to help individuals who were not happy experiencing same-sex attractions and were seeking to, as I did, experience their heterosexual potential. And so what happened was in California and New Jersey, the gay activists were successful in getting 2 laws passed in these states to ban, and let me just say that again, ban therapy for minors who would seek to get therapy to overcome unwanted same-sex attractions. This is an unprecedented event in our mental health system. There's never ever been in the history of mental health a therapeutic modality or process that was banned by law. And so when that happened, I formed a coalition of like-minded former homosexuals from around the country, and so far in 2014, we have defeated or are close to defeating 14 bills that have gone through state legislatures around the country. We've defeated 14 of these bills, 14 to nothing it's been in 2014 with these bills trying to ban therapy. So we have been quite successful in defeating this, and that's one of our major objectives in our work, is to defend the rights of clients to get therapy to help change.
Well, now, you've written an article on those 10 myths, and we may not be able to cover all of them, but I do want you to go through a few of them. The first one, of course, is the myth that you brought up right at the beginning, which is people are born gay. Why is this a myth? And then tell us why we would want to perpetuate that myth. Why do gay activists think that that is necessary to perpetuate it? And you've kind of gone to this a little bit by talking about they don't even want anybody to seek therapy for it. This is a dogmatic thing that they are really desirous to perpetuate.
Correct.
And so I want you to go into the reasons why you're not born that way, and then also for the reasons why they would want to continue to perpetuate that myth.
Well, the old adage is if you repeat a lie over and over again and loud enough, then eventually people will think it's true. And it's sort of similar to the statistic that 10% of people in the United States are gay. This was repeated by Alfred Kinsey back in his scientific studies back in the 1950s, and if anybody knows Alfred Kinsey, he did research on the homosexual population and sexual deviancy, but he did his research in prisons where it was basically a skewed sample. So he published studies from these skewed samples in prisons where we know there's a higher rate of deviancy and homosexuality, and then he put out in the studies, in my studies I found that 10% of people were born gay, or 10% of people are gay, and we know that's incorrect. In fact, just a few days ago, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, released a landmark study that actually found that the percentage of people in the United States that identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual is 2.3%. And this was the most comprehensive study to date. But yet, according to public perception, young people especially believe that as many as 30% of individuals in the United States are gay. So, number one, there's an overrepresentation based on a lot of myths out there. And one of those myths are, as you correctly stated, the myth of being born gay. And over the last 25 years, gay scientists have desperately tried to prove the existence of a gay gene, of gay hormones, and of a gay brain. And study after study has failed to replicate any of these findings. What we have seen is there may be some predispositions biologically, but they're not genetic, they're not hormonal, and they're not brain related. What they are is, and what we found over our 25 years in clinical research at the International Healing Foundation, and you can find more about that at comingoutLove.com, is that nearly all individuals that experience same-sex attraction are predispositioned with a sensitive temperament, okay? And they perceive the world differently than, say, people that don't have a sensitive temperament, maybe that are more rough and tumble, or that are not as easily angered or easily hurt or easily wounded. And through that sensitive temperament, individuals that develop same-sex attraction, and I say develop, they're not born that way, experience different types of wounding and issues differently than persons that develop opposite-sex attractions. And these different types of wounds then lead into someone developing same-sex attraction. And they're not just wounds. I would just say they're issues as well. Primarily, it's a lack of attachment and bonding with the same gender growing up that causes same-sex attraction, along with some other factors as well. But they're simply not born gay. That's definitely a myth that's been disproven by research.
Christopher, we have to go to a break right now, but we'd like you to stay through the break so we can talk more about the myths. Can you do that?
Absolutely.
We are talking with Christopher Doyle, who is the co-founder and president of Voice for the Voiceless here on Conservative Commandos radio show. And we'll be right back after this break to talk more with Christopher Doyle about what's going on in this gay activist agenda and what those myths are. For a rebroadcast, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 on our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with our new internet broadcast partners, CCR World Media.com, Patriots Ride, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show at any time of the day by calling 8.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show here with Rick Trader and Sharon Engel, and our guest today, Christopher Doyle, who's been talking about what is the truth, 10 myths propagated by gay activists and lead songs by Christopher Doyle. If you would like a brief rebroadcast of yesterday's Conservative Commandos radio show at 5 p.m. this evening, please go to CPR Worldwide Media.com and click on the Listen Live link. You can also listen to a repeat broadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon by going to VigilantLibertyRadio.us and click on that Listen Live link. Now you can listen to Conservative Commandos radio show at any time of the day by calling 832-999-1199. Call using your cell phone at no extra cost using those mobile minutes. So we're going to go back speaking with Christopher Doyle, who is an ex-homosexual. Now, the myth is that there's no such thing, Christopher. Could you talk about that myth?
Right. So the idea that people cannot change from a primary homosexual attraction to a primary heterosexual attraction is actually a myth. In fact, if you go to our website at www.voiceofthevoiceless.info, on our advisory board, you'll see that 10, out of 10 advisory board members, 7 of them are actually former homosexuals, that individuals that have left homosexuality, and many of them have experienced sexual orientation change. And not only is this documented in testimonies, but it's also documented in the peer-reviewed literature. Over 600 articles in the last 100 years in the scientific peer-reviewed literature have documented that individuals have gone from homosexual and experienced change through counseling, through therapy, through support groups, and through different types of methods to change sexual orientation. And so we know that simply one is not born gay, and that when someone resolves the issues that leads to same-sex attraction, meaning that they work those issues out, they can experience those issues declining, those issues resolving, and then the same-sex attractions oftentimes diminish, in some cases completely go away, and heterosexual attractions do ensue. And that was the case in my life. I once was same-sex attracted. I was a victim of sexual abuse. I also had a very hard time bonding with my father and other men growing up. And once I healed those issues in my life, the same-sex attractions really went away. And today I'm happily married. I have a beautiful wife and 3 children, and I help others, in my clinical work at the International Healing Foundation. And you can find more info at that at comingoutloved.com. Comingoutloved.com.
Now, Christopher, you bring up 2 interesting ideas here. One's another myth, which is, I'm sorry, Christopher, but you're just in denial if you think that's true. And the other one is, you said there are issues, and I've heard that there are issues that are common within the community. And could you talk about some of those things that are really very common within the gay community that once they're resolved? You mentioned one of them that I heard was very common, and that is abuse or molestation. So could you just kind of speak to, I'm not in denial, and some of these issues that are common to the LGBT community?
Well, there is some research that suggests that there's a higher incidence of sexual abuse within the homosexual population. In fact, there's a study, the author, his last name is Tomeo, in the Archives of Sexual Behavior in 2001, and they found that the incidence of sexual abuse was greatly increased among the homosexual population versus the general population at large. So there's certainly research out there that suggests that people who either self-identify as gay or lesbian, or those who experience same-sex attraction, are more likely to be sexually abused. But that's not the only cause, and there certainly are individuals out there who are living a gay lifestyle or who are experiencing same-sex attraction that weren't sexually abused. And so what I find to be the very common pathway is really what I consider to be a lack of bonding, attachment, and intimacy. So what happens is when a boy, and we'll just take a boy because most of my clients are men, when a boy does not sufficiently attach to his father growing up, or to a strong male father figure, okay? And let's say he becomes over-attached to the mother or the mother figure, okay? He does not then attach and bond with other boys growing up. And so what happens is he becomes over-attached, he becomes detached from his own gender, his own masculinity, and when he gets to be puberty age, when all the sexual feelings start awakening for the opposite gender, he hasn't sufficiently bonded with the same gender. And so those unmet emotional needs, those emotional needs for attachment and bonding with the same gender, automatically become sexualized, okay? And that's whenever young people think and are told, hey, you're gay. This is who you are. You were born this way. But that is a big, fat lie. It's a myth. What it actually is an indication that there is insufficient attachment and bonding with the same gender. That's the same thing happens when someone develops opposite sex attractions, which 96% of the population in America do. They bond and attach with the same gender growing up, and then whenever they becomes the puberty, the desire, the sexual desire, is really an unconscious desire to bond and attach with the opposite gender, the opposite sex. So while the person who's heterosexual consciously thinks, hey, I'm sexually attracted to that woman, what's happening unconsciously is the psyche is saying, I want to bond and attach with the opposite gender, and I'm going to do that via sexual means. That is the way that human sexuality works. It's unconscious sexual drives. It's not really consciously about sex at all. The same thing is occurring with homosexual people. The only thing that's different is that they're saying they're born this way. Well, let me give you a newsflash. No one's born gay, and no one's born straight. We're either born a male or a female, and that's it.
And that's it. So let's talk about just one last myth, because that's all we have time for, and that's the one that somehow the Bible allows for homosexuality. It's okay.
How did I know you would bring that one up? So probably one of the biggest controversies that's going on right now is, does the Bible say that homosexuality is okay? Is homosexuality equivalent to heterosexuality within the Scriptures? And I think that anyone really can look at this issue and see clearly that the Bible does not condemn persons. Okay, when you have a neighbor, when you have a friend or a family member that is experiencing same-sex attractions, or they are gay or lesbian, the Bible doesn't say that you should go and condemn that person because of their particular struggle or their issue that they're experiencing. However, the Bible clearly says that homosexual behavior is outside of God's ideal for our sexuality. And so, yes, the Bible clearly does say that homosexual behavior, not the person, is not God's ideal. And there are solutions. When men sufficiently bond and attach with other men, and they heal the wounds that are leading to homosexual feelings, okay, they can then develop heterosexual attractions if they want to, and come out straight instead of come out gay. That was my story, and you can read more of that at comingoutLove.com.
Hey, Christopher, I think that's important for all people to hear. The Bible hates the sin, not the sinner.
That's right. And I would even say, I would not even use that phrase, Rick. I would say, listen, the Bible and God loves everyone, and God has ideals for our behavior, right? God doesn't hate, God loves. Mm-hmm. But God does have ideals and expectations for us in every facet of life. So, you know what? There are some things that are sin, and there are some things that are God's ideals. Okay, instead of taking a low view, let's say, listen, the Bible and our God is a God of love, and He loves all people, and God desires for us to live out of His ideals. And obviously, in the Word of God, homosexual behavior is not God's ideal.
Christopher Doyle, co-founder and president of Voice of the Voiceless. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Christopher, tell our audience where they can go to read your entire article and to find out more about Voices of the Voiceless.
Well, if you the article was originally published at barbwire.com, and it's now republished on our website at voiceofthevoiceless.info. And also, we have an event coming up in October. It's our second annual ex-gay awareness event. Alan Keyes, former presidential candidate, will be keynoting that event. And we'll have several speakers from around the country telling their stories. So if you're interested in this event in Washington, D.C., please go to our website at voiceofthevoiceless.info. And if you're more interested in therapy for people who are experiencing struggles with their sexual orientation, please check out my information on comingoutloved.com at the International Healing Foundation.
Christopher Doyle, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and please keep in touch, okay?
Thank you very much.
Love to have you back on again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. God bless. And Sharon, I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host today. And I also like to remind our listeners, in just a few minutes, we are leaving our live show. If you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m. Eastern, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. That's CPRWorldwideMedia.com. You could also hear a repeat broadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. That's VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. And call using a phone that you have unlimited long-distance use. You don't have to pay any extra charges. And again, Sharon, I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host today. I also want to thank our other guest, Dr. W. Michael Cox, Roger Aronoff, and our most recent guest, Christopher Doyle. Sharon, we got 30 seconds. Any last thoughts real quick?
Of course, my last thoughts are always, what a great show, Rick. I've learned a lot. I hope our audience has too.
All right. For right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.